The ships appeared without warning on a Tuesday morning. They came not as dark shadows against the stars, but as pure light itself, dancing through Earth's atmosphere like living aurora. The vessels seemed to be made of crystallized starlight, their surfaces shifting between colors that had no names in any human language. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the emergency meeting room at NASA, watching the live feeds from around the world. Every major city had at least 3 of the mysterious craft hovering peacefully above them. They made no sound, created no electromagnetic interference, and seemed to defy every law of physics humanity understood. "They're beautiful," whispered General Morrison, forgetting for a moment that he was supposed to be planning Earth's defense. The aliens inside the ships were even more stunning. When they finally revealed themselves through holographic projections that appeared simultaneously across every television, computer, and phone screen on Earth, humanity gasped as one. The beings called themselves the Velthri, and they looked like living crystals shaped into graceful flowing forms. Their bodies caught and reflected light in impossible ways, creating rainbows that seemed to dance with emotion. "People of Earth," the lead Velthri spoke, its voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We come to you in peace, as representatives of the Galactic Confederation. We have watched your species from afar, and believe you are ready to join the greater community of intelligent life." The Velthri explained that they were part of a vast alliance of over 10,000 species, all living in harmony across the galaxy. They had evolved beyond war, beyond violence, beyond the primitive emotions that once drove their ancestors to conflict. For millions of years, they had spread peace and knowledge to younger civilizations, helping them grow beyond their violent origins. "We offer you gifts," the crystalline being continued, and suddenly the air around their ships began to shimmer. Objects began to materialize and float gently down to Earth's surface. Devices that could cure any disease, machines that could create food from simple elements, art that moved and sang and told stories of a billion worlds. President Martinez stood in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by advisors who were all staring at the screens in wonder. "What do they want in return?" she asked quietly. "Nothing," came the reply from the Velthri, as if they had heard her through the screen. "We ask only that you open your hearts to peace as we have done. Violence is a choice, and we choose to help you move beyond it." Around the world, people came out of their homes to look up at the ships. Children pointed and laughed at the pretty lights. Religious leaders called it a miracle. Scientists frantically tried to understand how the technology worked, but in certain rooms and certain buildings, other conversations were taking place. Colonel Williams sat in a bunker deep beneath the Pentagon, studying the readings his instruments were collecting. "The energy signatures are off the charts," he told his team. "But look at this pattern here. See how the power distribution works? There are weak points." Dr. James Harrison, one of the world's leading physicists, was already taking apart one of the healing devices that had landed near his laboratory. His hands moved quickly, carefully documenting each component. "Fascinating," he muttered. "The power source is incredibly efficient, but the shielding is minimal. They really don't expect anyone to try to reverse engineer this." At MIT, a group of engineering students had managed to scan one of the food creation machines. "If we can understand the matter conversion process," one of them said excitedly, "we could scale it up, make it faster, more efficient." The Velthri continued their peaceful broadcast throughout the day, showing images of their perfect worlds where no one ever fought, where resources were shared freely, where every being lived in harmony. They spoke of transcendent philosophy, of evolving beyond primitive instincts, of the joy of peaceful cooperation, but they began to notice something strange in humanity's response. "Tell us more about your defense systems," asked a reporter. During one of the open communication sessions the Velthri had established, the crystalline being seemed confused. "Defense systems? We have none. There is no need for defense when all choose peace. But what if someone chose not to be peaceful?" the reporter pressed. "That choice is not made by evolved beings," the Velthri replied gently. "Violence is a primitive response that intelligent species grow beyond. But theoretically," another voice chimed in, "if someone did choose violence, how would you respond?" The questions kept coming. How many Velthri were on each ship? How did their communication systems work? What were the technical specifications of their faster-than-light travel? How many worlds were in the Confederation? What were their population numbers? The Velthri answered with patient kindness, seeing the questions as natural curiosity from a young species. They provided detailed explanations, technical readouts, even holographic demonstrations of their technologies. They didn't notice the way human eyes lit up with each answer. They didn't see the furious note-taking, the rapid sketches, the whispered conversations between scientists and military officials. Dr. Chen found herself in another emergency meeting that evening, this time with representatives from every major government and research institution on Earth. "They're incredibly advanced," she reported, "but their technology isn't magic. It follows rules, and rules can be understood, replicated, and improved upon." General Morrison nodded grimly. "They seem genuinely peaceful, but their naivety is almost dangerous. They've told us everything about their capabilities, their locations, their infrastructure. If they're this open with every species they encounter, it suggests they've never met a species that didn't immediately accept their peaceful philosophy." Finished Dr. Harrison. "They have no protocols for dealing with beings who might use their gifts for other purposes." President Martinez looked around the room. "Are we seriously discussing this? They've offered us technologies that could end hunger, disease, even death itself. They're offering us membership in a galactic civilization. And we should accept," Dr. Chen said quickly. "But we should also understand exactly what we're accepting. Knowledge is never dangerous. Ignorance is." Around the world, similar conversations were taking place. Military strategists studied the Veil 3 ships not with hostile intent, but with professional curiosity. Scientists worked through the night not to build weapons, but to understand principles that could change everything. The Veil 3, floating peacefully above human cities, felt only satisfaction. This was how it always went. Young species were always curious, always eager to learn. Soon humanity would see the wisdom of absolute peace. Just as every other species had, they settled in to wait, confident that within days, perhaps weeks, humanity would formally request membership in the Confederation. Their crystalline bodies hummed with contentment, completely unaware that in laboratories and workshops across Earth, human minds were already at work, taking apart their gifts, understanding their principles, and asking the question that defined their species: how can we make this better? 3 weeks had passed since the Veil 3 arrived, and their crystalline forms still floated serenely above Earth's cities. They had expected humanity to formally request membership in the Galactic Confederation by now. Instead, they found themselves fielding increasingly specific questions that made their perfect peace feel somehow fragile. "The matter conversion technology you demonstrated," said Dr. Elizabeth Reyes during the morning communication session. "What are its theoretical limits? Could it work on larger scales?" The Veil 3 spokesperson, who had identified itself as Harmony of Stars, shimmered with patient light. "The devices we have given you can transform simple elements into complex organic compounds, sufficient to feed your entire population." "Why do you ask about larger scales?" "Pure curiosity," Dr. Reyes replied smoothly. "We're trying to understand the underlying principles. For instance, could the same technology be used to transform asteroids into construction materials? Or perhaps convert atmospheric gases into useful compounds?" Harmony of Stars provided detailed technical specifications, including energy requirements, conversion ratios, and safety protocols. It didn't notice how Dr. Reyes' eyes lit up when she learned that the technology could indeed be scaled up dramatically with sufficient power input. In Geneva, the United Nations had established a special committee to coordinate Earth's response to the Veil 3. Ambassador Rodriguez found himself in the unusual position of trying to explain human nature to beings who had evolved beyond conflict. "You mentioned that your confederation includes over 10,000 species," he said during his private communication with Harmony of Stars. "How do you handle disagreements between different worlds?" "Disagreements do not occur between evolved beings," the Veil 3 replied with gentle certainty. "When all choose peace, all choices align with universal harmony. But surely there must be differences of opinion about resource allocation, territorial boundaries, trade agreements." Harmony of Stars seemed puzzled by the question. "Resources are shared according to need. Territories belong to all. Trade implies scarcity, which does not exist when matter can be freely converted." Ambassador Rodriguez made careful notes. No territorial disputes, no resource competition, no trade conflicts. The Confederation sounded like paradise, but it also sounded vulnerable to anyone who didn't share their philosophical assumptions. At the Pentagon, General Morrison was reviewing reports from intelligence agencies around the world. Every major power was conducting the same analysis, reaching the same conclusions. They've essentially given us a complete breakdown of their civilization, Colonel Williams reported. Their ships have minimal defensive capabilities because they've never needed them. Their worlds are unfortified because they've never been attacked. Their population centers are completely open because they've never considered the need for protection. What about their military capabilities? Asked the general. They don't have any, sir. Not in any sense we would recognize. They have construction fleets, exploration vessels, and these diplomatic ships, but no weapons, no defensive installations, no strategic reserves. General Morrison frowned. That seems impossible. How do they maintain order across 10,000 species? They use what they call harmony fields, a form of empathic manipulation that encourages peaceful thoughts and cooperative behavior. From their descriptions, it's incredibly sophisticated. Could it be countered? Colonel Williams consulted his notes. They've been quite open about how it works. The field operates on specific neural frequencies that promote calm and reduce aggressive impulses. With the right shielding or interference patterns, it could probably be neutralized. In Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka was leading a team of engineers and analyzing the Vel-3's faster-than-light communication system. The aliens had been happy to demonstrate the technology, explaining how it allowed instantaneous contact across galactic distances. The quantum entanglement matrix is brilliant, Dr. Tanaka told her team. But look at this encryption protocol. It's designed for species that trust each other completely. There's no security beyond basic identity verification. Could we intercept their communications? Asked one of her assistants. With the right equipment, easily. They've even told us the standard frequency ranges used by different species. We could listen in on conversations across half the galaxy. Her assistant looked uncomfortable. Should we be thinking about that? They're offering us everything we could want. Dr. Tanaka paused in her calculations. Knowledge itself isn't threatening. Understanding how their technology works helps us appreciate what they're offering. The more we understand, the better partners we can be. But even as she said it, she couldn't shake the feeling that her human instincts were leading her down paths the Vel-3 had never imagined. Back in space, aboard the primary Vel-3 vessel, Harmony of Stars was reporting to the Confederation Council about humanity's progress toward peaceful integration. The humans are remarkably curious, it reported, its crystalline form pulsing with gentle satisfaction. They ask detailed questions about every aspect of our technology and civilization. Their eagerness to learn is encouraging. Have they expressed readiness to abandon their violent ways? Asked another council member, its voice like distant music. They have asked many questions about conflict resolution and the maintenance of peace. I believe they are preparing to embrace our philosophy fully. What concerns do they have about joining the Confederation? Harmony of Stars considered this. They seem particularly interested in understanding our defensive protocols and emergency procedures. I assume they want to ensure they can contribute meaningfully to galactic stability. The council hummed with approval. It was always gratifying when a young species showed concern for the greater good before even joining their peaceful community. What they didn't know was that in bunkers and laboratories across Earth, humans were working with frightening efficiency to understand every gift they had been given. The medical devices had been completely reverse-engineered within the first week. The matter converters had been not only understood but improved upon, with human modifications increasing their efficiency by 12%. Dr. Chen stood in her laboratory, looking at a device that shouldn't exist. Her team had taken the Vel-3's faster-than-light communication technology and combined it with their matter conversion principles and harmonic field generators. The result was something the peaceful aliens had never imagined. It works? Asked her assistant. Perfectly, Dr. Chen replied quietly. We can now communicate instantly across any distance, while simultaneously affecting the mental state of whoever receives the message and even transmitting simple matter patterns along with the data. The Vel-3 never thought to combine these technologies? Why would they? They use communication to share peaceful thoughts, matter conversion to eliminate scarcity, and harmony fields to maintain cooperation. They never considered that someone might want to use all three systems together for other purposes. Her assistant looked at the device uneasily. What purposes? Dr. Chen didn't answer immediately. She was thinking about the reports coming in from around the world. Every human research team was making similar breakthroughs, taking the Valtry's elegant, single-purpose technologies and finding ways to make them more versatile, more powerful, more efficient. The aliens had given humanity the tools to eliminate hunger, disease, and conflict. But humans had a gift the Valtry didn't understand. They could see potential where others saw completion, possibilities where others saw perfection. "We need to be very careful about how we proceed," she said finally. "The Valtry are genuinely peaceful, genuinely kind. They want to help us. But they've also just handed over the keys to galactic civilization to a species they don't really understand." Above them, Harmony of Stars continued its patient vigil, waiting for humanity to formally request admission to the Confederation. It felt only warmth and hope, completely unaware that in the weeks since their arrival, humans had already begun to transform their perfect peace into something unprecedented. The galaxy's heralds of peace had indeed found Earth, but they were beginning to discover that peace, in human hands, could be just as dangerous as any weapon. The invitation came on the 6th week of the Valtry's stay on Earth. Harmony of Stars appeared on every screen across the planet with an announcement that made the crystalline being shimmer with excitement. "People of Earth, the Confederation Council wishes to demonstrate our methods of peaceful conflict resolution. We invite your representatives to witness how we bring harmony to troubled worlds." The destination was the Kepler 442 system, where two species had been locked in territorial disputes for generations. The Zephyrins were silicon-based life forms who lived in the asteroid belts, while the aquatics were water-dwelling creatures who claimed the system's ocean worlds. Their conflict had raged for 300 years until the Confederation intervened 2 decades ago. President Martinez personally led the human delegation, along with scientists, diplomats, and military observers. The journey in the Valtry ships was beyond anything humans had experienced. The vessels moved through folded space in a way that made the universe seem small and manageable. "Your faster-than-light technology is remarkable," commented Dr. Chen as she watched stars streak past the crystalline windows. "How do you navigate through such complex dimensional folds?" Harmony of Stars provided detailed explanations of dimensional mathematics, quantum navigation principles, and the consciousness interface systems that allowed pilots to perceive folded space-time. The human delegation listened with intense attention, asking increasingly technical questions about power requirements, navigation errors, and system vulnerabilities. "You are remarkably quick to grasp these concepts," Harmony of Stars observed with pleasure. "Most species require centuries to understand dimensional folding theory." "We're highly motivated learners," replied General Morrison, making careful notes about how the ship's defensive systems were integrated with their propulsion. When they arrived at Kepler 442, the system appeared to be a model of peaceful cooperation. Zephyrin mining stations worked in harmony with aquatic research facilities. Ships from both species moved freely between worlds, their crews apparently cooperating on joint projects. "Beautiful," whispered Ambassador Rodriguez.
"How did you achieve this?"
"Observe," said Harmony of Stars, activating a holographic display that showed the system as it had been 20 years earlier. The space around the worlds had been filled with defensive installations, patrol fleets, and the debris of countless battles. The key was understanding that conflict arises from fear and scarcity. The Valtry explained. "We eliminated both." The demonstration began with a tour of the Confederation's peacekeeping station, a massive crystalline structure that orbited the system's primary star. Inside, hundreds of Valtry tended to banks of sophisticated equipment that hummed with gentle energy. "These are harmony field generators," Harmony of Stars explained, leading the human delegation through chambers filled with pulsing light. "They project empathic frequencies across the entire system, encouraging peaceful thoughts and cooperative behavior." Dr. Sarah Kim, a neurobiologist in the delegation, studied the readouts with fascination. "The field strength is incredible. How do you calibrate it for different species' neural patterns?" "Each species has unique brain chemistry," the Valtry replied, showing detailed biological scans of both the Zephyrins and aquatics. "We map their neural pathways and adjust the frequencies to promote calm, reduce territorial instincts, and enhance empathy." Dr. Kim made rapid notes. The technology was far more sophisticated than anything humans had imagined, but the principles were understandable. Neural frequency manipulation, empathic field projection, consciousness adjustment. All of it was possible with sufficient processing power and biological knowledge. "What about individuals who resist the treatment?" asked Colonel Williams. "Resistance is rare among evolved beings," Harmony of Stars replied. "But when it occurs, we simply increase the field strength until harmony is achieved." The delegation toured the system's worlds, meeting with Zephyrin and aquatic leaders who spoke in glowing terms about the peace they had found. The former enemies now worked together on joint research projects, shared resources freely, and seemed genuinely content with their circumstances. But Dr. Chen noticed something troubling during their conversations with the locals. When she asked specific questions about their pre-peace history, their military capabilities, or their original territorial claims, she received vague, uncertain answers. "I remember being angry about something," one Zephyrin administrator told her, "but I can't recall why it seemed important." The harmony fields help us see past such primitive emotions. "Do you ever miss your independence?" Dr. Chen pressed gently. The Zephyrin looked confused. "Independence from what?" "We are free to pursue our true purposes now that we are no longer burdened by conflict." That evening, as the human delegation gathered in their quarters aboard the Confederation station, the atmosphere was tense. "They've been lobotomized," Dr. Kim said bluntly. "Not surgically, but neurochemically. The harmony fields don't just reduce aggression. They suppress independent thought, personal ambition, even individual identity." "The brain scans you took?" asked President Martinez. "Show severe reduction in activity in the prefrontal cortex, the limbic system, and the neural networks associated with personal desire and self-determination. These people aren't peaceful. They're chemically sedated." General Morrison looked at his notes from their technical discussions. "The Valkyrie have been completely open about their methods. They see nothing wrong with what they're doing because, from their perspective, they've eliminated suffering. By eliminating the capacity to want anything badly enough to fight for it," added Ambassador Rodriguez grimly. Dr. Chen was already working on her portable computer, running calculations based on the technical specifications they'd been given. The harmony fields operate on quantum frequencies that can be precisely calibrated for any species. But look at this. The field generators they've shown us are massive, requiring enormous power sources and constant maintenance. "Could they be made smaller?" asked President Martinez. "Theoretically, yes. With the right modifications, you could probably fit a harmony field generator into something the size of a briefcase, or smaller." The implications hung in the air like a dark cloud. The Valkyrie had solved the problem of war by removing the ability to fight. They had achieved perfect peace by making it impossible for anyone to want anything strongly enough to create conflict. "We need to see more," Dr. Chen said quietly. "We need to understand the full extent of their methods." The next day, they requested a demonstration of how the Confederation dealt with emergency situations. Harmony of Stars seemed puzzled by the concept, but agreed to show them the protocols for newly discovered aggressive species. The demonstration involved a simulated first contact scenario, where a fictional warlike race refused to accept peaceful integration. The human delegation watched as Confederation ships deployed harmony field projectors that could affect entire planets from orbit, broadcasting neural adjustment frequencies that would pacify any biological life within range. "The process is completely humane," Harmony of Stars explained, as they watched the simulation play out. "The target species simply loses interest in violence. Within hours, they become receptive to peaceful cooperation. And if they try to resist," asked General Morrison, "how can one resist the absence of desire for conflict?" The Valkyrie replied with genuine confusion. "It would be like trying to resist the absence of pain." Dr. Kim was recording everything, her instruments capturing the exact frequency patterns and power requirements of the pacification fields. The technology was brilliant, terrifying, and completely beyond the Valkyrie's moral comprehension. "We would like to return to Earth now," President Martinez announced suddenly. "We have much to discuss with our people." Harmony of Stars shimmered with satisfaction. "Of course, you have seen how peace can be achieved. I trust you will wish to implement similar systems on your world?" "We will certainly consider all our options," the President replied carefully. As their ship folded space back toward Earth, the human delegation sat in stunned silence. They had seen the galaxy's ultimate solution to conflict, and it was more horrifying than any weapon they could imagine. They really believe they're helping. Dr. Chen said finally. They've created a form of peace so perfect that no one can even conceive of breaking it. Because no one is capable of wanting to, added Dr. Kim. General Morrison looked out at the stars rushing past. And they want to share this gift with humanity. The question hanging unspoken in the air was simple. What would humans do with the technology to eliminate free will? And perhaps more importantly, what would the Veil Three do when they discovered that humanity had no intention of using their gifts the way they were intended? The news reached the Galactic Confederation's central worlds like ripples in a perfect pond, disturbing the crystal clarity of their peaceful order. Human ships had begun appearing in Confederate space, not as conquerors or refugees, but as something far more unsettling. Students. Wisdom of Depths, the Confederation's oldest council member, received the first reports with confusion that gradually transformed into something approaching fear. The humans had arrived at 17 different systems over the past month, always requesting permission to establish cultural exchange stations. They are remarkably polite, reported Serenity of Tides from the Vegan system. They ask for nothing but the opportunity to learn from our peaceful civilizations. They have established research facilities on our outer worlds and seem fascinated by our harmony field technology. What kind of research? Asked Wisdom of Depths, its ancient crystalline form flickering with concern. They say they want to understand how different species achieve lasting peace. They have interviewed thousands of our citizens about their experiences with harmony field integration. They are particularly interested in the technical specifications of our peacekeeping systems. Similar reports came from across the Confederation. Human researchers had arrived everywhere, always friendly, always curious, always asking the same types of questions. They wanted to know about power distribution systems, communication networks, harmony field calibration, population management protocols, and resource allocation methods, but it was the report from the Centauri sector that truly alarmed the Council. The humans have improved our matter converters, reported Harmony of Winds with a mixture of awe and unease. They studied our designs for 3 weeks, then presented modifications that increase efficiency by 37%. They have offered to upgrade all our systems free of charge. Improved? Wisdom of Depths struggled to understand the concept. But our technology has been perfected over millions of years. That is what we believed. But the humans see possibilities that we missed. They have taken our elegant single-purpose devices and made them do things we never imagined. The detailed reports were even more disturbing. Humans had arrived with their own ships, crude by Confederation standards but functional. They had studied Veil 3 faster-than-light technology and somehow made their vessels 20% faster while using 40% less energy. They had observed harmony field generators and created portable versions that could fit in a human hand. Dr. Chen's team had established a research station in the peaceful Altair system, where they worked alongside the local, crystalline collective to study cultural integration methods. What they were actually doing was systematically documenting every aspect of Confederation technology and society. The crystallines are wonderful, she reported back to Earth during one of her regular communications. They've been completely open about their governmental systems, their resource networks, even their defensive protocols. They don't seem to understand why anyone would want to keep secrets. What have you learned? Asked Dr. Harrison from his lab on Earth. Everything, Dr. Chen replied with barely contained excitement. Their entire civilization is based on trust and cooperation. They have no security measures, no classified information, no restricted technologies. They've built the most advanced society in the galaxy, and they've left it completely unprotected. General Morrison, monitoring the communication from the Pentagon, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Protected from what? They've been peaceful for millions of years. Protected from species that might not share their values, Dr. Chen answered quietly. They've created incredible technologies, faster than light travel, matter conversion, consciousness manipulation, planetary scale engineering, and they've never considered that someone might use these tools for purposes other than creating perfect peace. The full scope of human activities became clear when Ambassador Rodriguez submitted his report from the Confederation capital world. He had been invited to observe the central planning systems that coordinated resources across 10,000 worlds, managed the distribution of advanced technologies, and maintained the harmony fields that kept galactic civilization peaceful. They run everything from here, he reported. Every major decision, every resource allocation, every technological upgrade flows through this one world, and they've given me complete access to observe their methods. The capital world was a marvel of crystal spires and flowing energy, where millions of Vile-3 worked in perfect coordination to maintain galactic peace. The humans had been welcomed as honored guests, free to study any system they wished to understand. What the Vile-3 didn't realize was that the humans weren't just studying their methods, they were mapping their vulnerabilities. The central communication array handles all faster-than-light messages for the entire Confederation. Dr. Kim reported from her position on the technical observation team. If someone understood the control codes, they could monitor or even block communications across half the galaxy. The Harmony Field Network operates on standardized frequencies, added Dr. Tanaka from the Peacekeeping Center. The calibration systems are automated and trust their input completely. If someone fed false calibration data into the network, the resource allocation system assumes infinite cooperation, reported Dr. Williams from the Economic Planning Center. There are no safeguards against someone redirecting shipments or diverting materials. Why would there be? No one in the Confederation has ever tried to take more than they need. President Martinez received these reports with growing unease. Humanity had been invited into the galaxy's most advanced civilization, and within weeks they had identified every weakness, every vulnerability, every point of potential failure in a system that had maintained peace for millions of years. The problem was that they hadn't intended to find weaknesses. They were simply doing what humans did, understanding how things worked, seeing how they could be improved, identifying inefficiencies and potential problems. It was human nature to optimize, to fix, to make things better. But their optimizations were terrifying the very people they were trying to help. The humans have suggested improvements to our harmony field generators, reported Piece of Stars from the Outer Rim territories. They say they can make the fields more precise, more efficient, more responsive to individual neural patterns. What kind of improvements? Asked Wisdom of Depths, though it wasn't sure it wanted to know the answer. They have created field generators that can target specific individuals rather than broad areas. They say this will reduce energy waste and allow for more personalized peace protocols. The implications struck the Council like a thunderbolt. The humans had taken technology designed to bring peace to entire populations and made it precise enough to affect single individuals. They had turned a tool of universal harmony into a weapon of targeted mind control. They also suggested improvements to our communication systems. Piece of Stars continued. They say they can make our networks more secure, more efficient, more capable of handling complex data transfers. More secure from what? Wisdom of Depths asked, though it was beginning to understand. They say advanced civilizations should protect themselves against theoretical hostile forces. They have offered to upgrade our systems to prevent unauthorized access or data theft. The humans were offering to protect the Confederation from threats that didn't exist, using methods that the peaceful aliens had never imagined. They were solving problems that no one knew they had, creating safeguards against dangers that had never occurred to species who had forgotten what danger looked like. Dr. Chen's final report from Altair was the most disturbing of all. The crystallines asked us to help them optimize their planetary harmony fields, she reported. They said our suggestions for improving efficiency were so helpful that they wanted us to upgrade their entire system. And, prompted Dr. Harrison, we did. We increased the field strength, improved the targeting precision, and enhanced the neural mapping systems. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. Meaning? Dr. Chen paused before answering. Meaning we've just demonstrated that we can take the technology that maintains peace on an entire world and make it 40% more effective. The crystallines are so grateful they want to recommend our services to other Confederation worlds. The silence that followed was deafening. Humanity had done what it always did, taken something good and made it better. But in this case, better meant more powerful, more precise, and more capable of controlling the thoughts and emotions of entire populations. The galaxy had sent heralds of peace to Earth, hoping to find another species to add to their perfect civilization. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's greatest gift was also their most terrifying trait: the relentless drive to improve everything they encountered. regardless of whether it needed improving or not. And now, armed with technologies that could reshape civilizations, humanity was spreading across the galaxy, helping everyone they met become more efficient, more optimized, more perfectly controlled than they had ever dreamed possible. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation Council took place in the deepest chambers of the capital world, where the oldest and wisest Vile Three had gathered to discuss the growing human presence across their peaceful realm. Wisdom of Depths, now flickering with colors that had no name in any peaceful language, addressed the assembly with words that had not been spoken in millions of years. "We have made an error." The admission sent ripples of confusion through the crystalline beings. Errors were concepts from their violent past, from the dark ages before they had achieved perfect harmony. How could beings of pure peace make an error? The humans, Wisdom of Depths continued, are not what we believed them to be. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human cultural exchange stations had been established in over 300 systems. Everywhere they went, they offered improvements, optimizations, and helpful suggestions that made existing technologies more efficient and more powerful. They have upgraded our matter converters on 47 worlds, reported Serenity of Tides. Energy efficiency has increased by an average of 32% across all installations. They have enhanced our communication networks in 63 systems, added Harmony of Winds. Data transfer rates have improved by 50%, and they have added security protocols we never knew we needed. They have optimized our harmony field generators on over 100 worlds, whispered Piece of Stars, its form trembling with something approaching terror. The fields are now 40% stronger, 60% more precise, and capable of affecting neural patterns we didn't know existed. Wisdom of Depths processed this information with growing alarm. The humans weren't conquering the Confederation, they were improving it. Every system they touched became more efficient, more powerful, more capable. But capability in the hands of a peaceful species was one thing. What would happen if that capability fell into other hands? Show them the projections, Wisdom of Depths instructed. The council chamber filled with holographic displays showing the spread of human influence across Confederate space. At first glance, it looked like a peaceful expansion. Research stations, cultural exchanges, cooperative projects between humans and local species. But a deeper analysis revealed something chilling. Every system touched by human improvements was now more powerful than before. Communication networks that had been adequate for peaceful coordination could now handle military logistics. Matter converters that had been sufficient for eliminating scarcity could now support massive industrial projects. Harmony fields that had maintained gentle peace could now enforce absolute compliance. They are not changing our philosophy, Wisdom of Depths observed. They are making our philosophy more efficiently enforceable. Dr. Chen stood in her laboratory aboard the Human Research Station in the Vega system, reviewing the latest reports from across the galaxy. Her team had just finished implementing what they called enhanced pacification protocols, improvements to the local harmony field network that made it faster, more targeted, and more effective. "The Vegans are delighted," reported her assistant. "They say they've never felt such complete peace." Dr. Chen nodded, but something nagged at her. The improvements they were making weren't really improvements in the traditional sense. They were optimizations, refinements that made existing systems more powerful without changing their fundamental purpose. "Have you calculated the theoretical maximum output of the enhanced harmony fields?" she asked. Her assistant consulted his notes. "With the modifications we've implemented, the fields could theoretically affect neural activity at the quantum level. Complete control over thought, emotion, and behavior patterns would be possible. And the range? System-wide coverage with current power sources, potentially galactic scale with sufficient energy input." Dr. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. They had taken technology designed to promote peace and turned it into the most sophisticated mind control system ever conceived. And they had done it with the best of intentions, simply trying to help their new friends achieve better results. Her communication array chimed with an incoming message from Earth. President Martinez appeared on her screen, looking tired and concerned. "Chen, we need to talk. All human stations, all research teams, everyone. We're calling an emergency conference." The conference took place in virtual space with human researchers from across the galaxy connecting through quantum communication links. President Martinez looked around at the assembled scientists, diplomats, and military advisors with an expression of grim realization. "We have a problem," she began without preamble. "Our friends at the Confederation Council have begun asking uncomfortable questions about our activities." General Morrison took over the briefing. "Intelligence suggests that some council members are becoming concerned about the scope and speed of our technological integrations. They're starting to wonder if our improvements serve purposes beyond what we've stated." "Which is ridiculous," protested Dr. Harrison from his station in the Centauri sector. "We're helping them achieve their goals more efficiently. Everything we've done supports their philosophy of universal peace." "Yes," President Martinez replied quietly, "but we've made their philosophy capable of enforcing itself in ways they never imagined. We've turned their gentle suggestion of peace into an unstoppable force for compliance." Dr. Chen understood the problem immediately. "They're afraid of us." "Not afraid of what we might do to them," the president clarified. "Afraid of what someone else might do with the tools we've given them. We've made the Confederation incredibly powerful, but we've also made them incredibly vulnerable to anyone who doesn't share their values." The implications rippled through the conference. Humanity had optimized galactic civilization, but optimization cut both ways. The same improvements that made peace more achievable also made domination more possible. "What's our status across Confederate space?" asked Ambassador Rodriguez. General Morrison consulted his reports. "We have research stations in 312 systems. We've upgraded critical infrastructure in 40% of Confederation worlds. We've enhanced their communication networks, their matter conversion systems, their harmony field generators, and their resource distribution networks. In other words," Dr. Chen said slowly, "we've made ourselves indispensable." The silence that followed was profound. Without intending to, without malicious purpose, humanity had woven itself into the fabric of galactic civilization. Every improvement they had made, every optimization they had implemented, had increased both the Confederation's capabilities and their dependence on human expertise. "The Council is meeting as we speak," President Martinez continued. "Our sources suggest they're debating whether to ask us to leave Confederate space." "They can't," replied Dr. Tanaka from her station near the capital world. "Half their critical systems now run on human modifications. Their enhanced harmony fields require constant human oversight. Their upgraded communication networks need our security protocols to function safely." "Which means what exactly?" asked Ambassador Rodriguez. "It means," Dr. Chen answered, "that we've accidentally made ourselves the most important species in the galaxy. We didn't conquer them. We didn't threaten them. We didn't even try to change their philosophy. We just made them better at being what they already were." President Martinez nodded grimly. "And now they're discovering that better can be terrifying, even when it's exactly what you thought you wanted." The final irony became clear as reports arrived from the Confederation capital. The Council had reached a decision about humanity's presence in their space, but it wasn't the decision anyone had expected. "They want to make us permanent advisors," reported Dr. Tanaka with something approaching horror. "They're offering us formal membership in the Confederation government, with authority over technological development across all member worlds." "They want us to optimize the entire galaxy?" asked Dr. Chen. "They want us to keep doing what we've been doing, but officially. They say our improvements have been so beneficial that they can't imagine managing their civilization without human involvement." The humans had sought peaceful integration with galactic society. The galaxy had offered them partnership in maintaining universal peace. But the partnership they were being offered was more like stewardship, responsibility for optimizing a civilization that had become dependent on their improvements. "We came here as students," President Martinez observed. "Somehow we've become teachers. The question is, what exactly have we taught them?" Dr. Chen looked out at the stars, knowing that human research stations now orbited worlds across the galaxy, that human improvements powered the infrastructure of thousands of civilizations, that human optimization had made galactic peace more perfect and more enforceable than ever before. The galaxy had sent heralds of peace to Earth, expecting to find another sheep for their peaceful flock. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's greatest gift wasn't violence or conquest, but something far more fundamental and far more dangerous. Humans had the ability to take any system, any technology, any philosophy, and make it work better than its creators had ever imagined. They could optimize peace until it became indistinguishable from control, improve cooperation until it resembled subjugation, and enhance